Hey guys, what's up? It's BigJackFilms here, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the next installment of the Jurassic Park Legacy Reviews. But I'm afraid we don't have too much time, so I'm just gonna cut right to the chase. This production began shortly after the release of Jurassic World Dominion in the writing process, and took a couple of years to put off the ground due to our 10th anniversary special and a few other projects we had to do on the side. Now, originally this was supposed to be the final installment of our run on the Jurassic Park Legacy Reviews. In fact, it's kind of on the brink of 10 years of doing this particular series. And this is probably our most elaborate production with Jurassic Park, and there's so many people to thank in the credits, and you'll see them as they go past, but I couldn't have done it without all their support from the cast and crew, and especially our supporters on Patreon. If you guys want to go donate to the channel, just $1 or more will get you early access to all of our content as well as other special features. So we hope you enjoy this 4-part endeavor. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share this video with your friends, and enjoy the show. And, oh, I believe it's lunchtime. Hopefully for us. Welcome back to Jurassic Park. Enjoy. The following is a fan-based video review under fair use. The Jurassic Park and Jurassic World IP are owned by Universal Pictures, AMBLIN Entertainment, Legendary Pictures, Netflix, Steven Spielberg, Frank Marshall, Kathleen Kennedy, and the Micheal Crichton estate. Please support the official release and streaming services.
It's coming. To NBC.
There it is. Alright, team, I'm going in. Yeah. Hello? Anyone? I think we broke your dinosaur park. Alright, Roger, I'm in. But something doesn't seem right. It's too quiet. Did they evacuate beforehand?
The center was ordered to be evacuated before you arrived. I tried contacting them to wait for you, but communication is down. I can maybe put my programming into the lower sector of the visitor center and head to the power box. Reset the system to rewire the paddock security, that way you can find the group.
Alright, I'll report back when I can. Oh, hey everybody, welcome back to the Jurassic Park Legacy Reviews. Well, y'all been wanting it. This is it. The big one. The final chapter of this 30-year franchise, 65 million years in the making. I'm of course talking about the 6th and last entry in the Jurassic Park franchise, the Jurassic World Dominion. Left off the Jurassic World movies, we saw the dinosaurs finally enter the mainland after escaping Lockwood Manor. But for the sixth film in the franchise, we open surprisingly 65 million years ago during the time of the dinosaurs, as we see the ancestors of the animals we all know and love in their prehistoric prime during the late Cretaceous period. By the way, I am going by the extended edition, folks. But we then cut to the present as we pick up a few years where Fallen Kingdom, as well as to some degree Battle of Big Rock and Chaos Theory left off, with the dinosaurs now run amok not only in the mainland, but have once again ruled the Earth, as not only have they migrated worldwide, but appears their population has increased. As humans and dinosaurs of all shapes and sizes become part of this fragile new ecosystem, Claire and Owen, once again played by Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt, live off the grid in the Sierra Nevada mountain range, protecting their adoptive 14-year-old daughter, Maisie, played again by Isabella Sermon. However, trouble is brewing when global biotech giant Biosyn, that's right, the rival company of InGen that has been a thorn on the rivalry for genetic science since the first Jurassic Park, and were most prominent in the books, becomes involved in the mysterious disappearance of Maisie and the baby velociraptor Beta, the offspring of Owen's trusty raptor companion, Blue. Makes you wonder how the hell Biosyn got all of InGen's tech to begin with, because God forbid the movie doesn't explain it. But while the two makeshift parents set off to find their daughter, their paths will also intertwine with some Jurassic veterans when we see the full return of the original trio, as Dr. Ellie Sattler, played by Laura Dern, embarks on a mission to uncover the truth and expose the unexpected new adversary that threatens the entire world's food chain, and reunites with Dr. Alan Grant, played again by Sam Neill. And the two meet up at Biosyn's head base of operations with Dr. Ian Malcolm, played once again by Jeff Goldblum. And when the two groups' paths finally meet, they must work together to confront the mysterious Lewis Doxon, played by Campbell Scott, owner of Biosyn and the man who was behind the sabotage of InGen and the original Jurassic Park back in 1993 with the failed help of Dennis Nedry. Set to expose Doxon's greatest scheme, all is on the line as the world adapts to this inevitable return of the dinosaurs, or, much like the dinosaurs themselves, face extinction. So, what do I think of the final film in the Jurassic World trilogy, and while the seventh film, Rebirth, is coming? If this was the final film, how does it hold as a finale? Yes, it reads laziness. Well, without beating around the bush like I did last time with Fallen Kingdom, I'll just come out right now and say, while it's great entertainment, it sadly as a final chapter rings pretty damn hollow. With Fallen Kingdom ringing poorly for me and becoming the worst of the franchise, making me even apologize for Jurassic Park 3, how dare you? This film not only had to make up for it, had a lot to live up to, but also at the time of its production, I was already Jurassic out on the franchise. This was right in the midst of Hollywood's change of aggressive political direction of the mid-2010s, and on the cusp of the COVID-19 pandemic during production, which I'll bring up later given it did play a part in the film's problems. So not only was I not that excited, but there was a lot stacked against it, and it looked like Universal was getting desperate to keep the money-making hype train going since they deliberately showcased the return of the original park cast and were going to be more prominent in the final chapter to get butts in seats. Despite my doubts, I was okay with that, and the fact they were gonna take more from the books was intriguing to a degree. What we got was that, but a lot of poor creative choices and essentially damage control, very similar to what happened to the Star Wars sequel trilogy, which actually is more connected than you would expect.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
We'll get to that. But to keep to a more positive light before we unleash the bugs I have with this film, I do have to give it a bit of praise, cause there was stuff I really liked about this one, from its deep lore connections to the first film, some fantastic action set pieces and effects, and combining the old and new cast of characters was acceptably welcome.
And there is truth in these rocks.
Now, I would focus on the old cast first, but since the world reviews have been consistent on who to talk about, let's start with the cast of this trilogy in their final adventure.
Come back.
I always come back.
Owen is once again in top form as the dinosaur wrangler and go-to badass, but I will admit is lacking character compared to the other two films. After so many treks in the jungle with his raptor squad, to his volcano run and Indoraptor hunting, he's much more laid back and less tense about the mission at hand. He's a much more settled-in dad who shows compassion and encouragement for his surrogate daughter, along with wanting to take care of both Blue and her offspring in the winter grids, which this is actually the first film in the series we see the dinosaurs in a winter environment. From Blue and Beta to Owen's wrangling of the Parasaurolophuses on horseback, really giving me Valley of Gwangi vibes. Someday I will cover it. His only goal in the film is to not just retrieve both daughters, but also settle a score with a plucky rival wrangler who leaves a lot of tension in his job recapturing dinosaurs. Their conflict is there, but not only did it need more engagement, but a better payoff, which I'll discuss later. It's kind of weird to say, but it feels like this is Chris Pratt on autopilot. He's just there as an obligation, and really, his arc ended after the first two. It gave me Rick O'Connell vibes from the second and third Mummy films, but even then, those movies wrote the character to be more engaging. Even Tomb of the Dragon Emperor did that. Still, Chris Pratt does give it his physical all here, and it's fun to see him reunite with old friends, including his old raptor paddock partner from Jurassic World, Barry, played by Onar Sy, who was a welcome surprise in this movie given he was one of the best characters in Part 4.
Owen.
Why do these scenes always put a smile on my face? It's the same vibe as that scene in Titanic I always like.
Jack! Tommy! Can we get out? It's hopeless that way! Well, whatever we do, we've got to do it fast. Jack! Fabrizio!
It's one of the few times the writing does have a chance to be positive, but Owen is still as awesome as he rides bikes and kicks ass on a few of the baddies and dinosaurs. It's still great entertainment.
You're up.
Oddly enough, the one with the most motivative engagement this time around is actually Claire. At first you think she's doing the same old shtick, being a dinosaur advocate freeing a baby Nasutoceratops, as established in Big Rock, with the help of her two colleagues from Fallen Kingdom, played again briefly by Justice Smith and Zaya Rodriguez. However, they are quick to not keep him around, given they were the most obnoxious characters in the previous film. And in all honesty, they pretty much gave her the same treatment as Rose Tico in The Rise of Skywalker. But in this film, it's much more acceptable.
Rose, last chance.
The General asked me to study the specs of old destroyers.
We're done. I got a call last week. It's a real job, something I could do to effectively change things.
But back to Claire. She is by all accounts a mother in this movie, doing everything to get her daughter back in some pretty awesome moments on par with Owen. This in many ways is probably what someone like Amanda Kirby should have been in Jurassic Park 3.
What?
And here, it's a worthy character investment, and Bryce Dallas Howard did great as she always does. It's nice to see her be so engaging with both the franchise itself and the fans attending conventions recently. Not to mention being much like her father Ron Howard, a pretty solid director. While she's been busy directing episodes for the Star Wars TV shows, it wouldn't surprise me if she secretly directed a few scenes here, and with Gareth Edwards on hand for Part 7, maybe future films could use her directing touch. It would be pretty cool to see, all things considered.
I thought you would have chosen a quieter line of work.
Now, what are the latest updates for the mysterious character of Maisie after the shocking but somewhat decreased value in reshoots of our cloned child of science? Well, first and foremost, I will give credit to the actress Isabella Sherman for giving it her all in both films she starred in, and in this one, while her character finally finds purpose and has it conclude her story to a degree, I will admit, much like the last film, feels like something's lacking. The start of it is good, being a top-tier wanted person of interest, and her being a clone now public knowledge. However, it runs into a trope that can be quite irritating for me with the, let's just call it Ariel Defiant disorder. This is where a character, mostly an angsty teenager, feels trapped by their parents and dreams of a life of adventure by breaking the strict rules. You know these ones, Luke Skywalker, Kiara, Ariel as I mentioned, but here, the dialogue can be a little irritating.
I said I didn't go past the bridge. There are people out there who'll do anything to find me.
You can't keep me here, you're not my mother.
How would I know what people do?
It's not the actress's fault, it's just poor writing. And on top of that, her importance to the story, while interesting, takes some turns that feel like a middle ground for me, so I'll wait for my negatives on that one.
I'm really sorry that it had to happen this way.
Yep, that's what kidnappers say.
But call me a sucker who fell for it, the biggest selling point for me with Dominion is to see the return of the original herd with Grant, Sattler, and Malcolm. I'll start with Malcolm, given he was in the last movie to begin and bookend the film, in what was unfortunately a disappointing cameo with less prominence than Sattler had in Part 3. However, if you saw it as a test...
Successful test.
The inclusion of Dr. Malcolm in Fallen Kingdom had the audience begging for more of the original characters to return, so Universal made note to have him on as a more stay-on lead for the final film, and it's nice to see Jeff Goldblum once again finally embrace the chaotician persona, which has been sadly absent since The Lost World. And he still has the wit, the charm, and clever corrections of his work, and some of the funniest lines in the film.
Do you know the code?
I didn't know there was going to be a code.
Great, so we can turn on the thing and then we all get out of here? Jurassic World? Not a fan.
Okay, give the writers and Goldblum credit for having the balls and self-awareness.
Not a fan.
I'm starting to take it personally.
And yeah, maybe it's just me, but it feels like they let Goldblum do more improv than he had previously.
They give you so many promotions in a short period of time that it bludgeons your capacity for critical thinking.
Oh my God.
Goldblum, I don't like shady corporate business practices either, but don't you have a family to feed?
But they pressed the button and hoped for the best, just like you are doing now.
Hey, I didn't ask for part 7 when I wrote this review, okay? I'm trying to get off this island too. It was probably director Colin Trevorrow just knowing how well Goldblum is in the role. He just let him do his thing without any notes from the script, and honestly, it's awesome.
Are there, dinosaurs in the mine?
Malcolm is not just funny, as he was in the first, but even brings the badassery from the second. Remember the scene in part 1 where he used the flare on the T-Rex? Now he's just using a makeshift torch to fight off an even bigger predator. That's just really freaking cool. But for me, the most engaging characters was the reunion of Dr. Ellie Sattler and Dr. Alan Grant. And this film's greatest fix for the franchise. The last time we saw these two was in Jurassic Park 3, with the two split up ruining the story arc set up from the first movie. Ellie having found a family with someone else, and Grant returning to the desert to dig up bones, and well, you know the rest.
Alan!
Though, on a side note of theories I had on the split was that Ellie couldn't handle Grant's obsession with the raptors after their encounters in film 1.
Do you remember the sounds they made?
I try not to.
I always imagined him going all Dr. Loomis from the Halloween movies over these things, which drove Sattler away from him, leaving him cold and broken as we see him in film 3.
The last of my breed.
So, 20 years later, this is a reunion I was very much intrigued to see, given I've wanted to see this for a while in writing my own Jurassic adventures, waiting for a new movie. But you know Hollywood nowadays, anything the fans want is totally disregarded due to some sort of political agenda, and considering Laura Dern's performance in The Last Jedi, it wouldn't surprise me. So, let me just guess the obvious. She retcons her relationship with Grant because it was weird in the original, and she needs no man because she's a strong, independent woman, and
Mark?
It's over.
Okay, Universal, apology accepted for Fallen Kingdom. Yes! Oh, thank heavenly Christosaurus, yes! Get fucked, Mark! Get fucked! I project both middle fingers at you for the fans with pride! Fuck you, and fuck you, buddy! This move was a brilliant fix for the deep lore of the characters. One of Jurassic Park 3's most negative aspects was the split, due to director Joe Johnston not wanting to see them together anymore. Which just doesn't make sense. He liked the movie, but I guess not that part? The fuck, man? But Colin knew this is exactly what the fans needed to bring these two characters back. It not only gives them less weight to carry, but allows them to finally get back together. Seeing Alan's eyes light up was what a lot of the fans felt, and we all wanted to see him finally make a move to get his love back, and honestly, it's really adorable to watch Grant try. Reminding me of all things Bernard proposing to Bianca in The Rescuers Down Under. Yes, I too know it still exists, and it's an amazing sequel. Why the fuck doesn't Disney market it more? But seeing that fiery chemistry rekindle was fun to watch, and seeing them back in more dinosaur adventures together was a good time and incredibly satisfying. While Sattler was the most progressive in the plot, Grant is more laid back, which he would be at this stage in life. He's been through the ringer twice with these creatures, and I even like how at first he is hesitant to go at his dig site, which is not only going back to the first film's tone, but has a few Easter eggs in the tent, which is a nice touch. If you look closely, you can see the resonating chamber from part 3, which, well, maybe could have come in handy to rescue Beta later in the film, was a nice touch of continuity.
Wow. This is brilliant, Billy.
But being a lot older and gnarlier just made it more of a joy of his return, and actually was more faithful to the book. And it even adds tension later in the film if he can make it out alive or not this time. This, in many ways, is how someone like Indiana Jones should have been written in the last film, and Sam Neill is given a great amount to work with to justify him being back for what might be his last adventure. He recently announced he's stepping back from his work due to poor health, and no matter what he chooses, we not only wish him the best in his health, but are really grateful to get essentially a trilogy of films with one of the best dinosaur experts in cinema.
I found a way.
But it's not just Grant's trilogy, but Sattler's too, and it's nice to see Laura Dern back in the role to a much bigger capacity, acting as the leader of the original trio this time around. It's clear after the events seen in Jurassic World, she returned to the fields of paleontology and paleobotany in finding out how Jurassic Park itself practically changed the world, and seeing biosyn at the root causes since 1993 does give much more weight to why she's out to stop them. While Laura Dern has gotten more negative aspects of critics since The Last Jedi, it's nice to see her back in a franchise where she's much more suited. And maybe someday I would like to see her in more of these new Jurassic movies.
You coming or what?
It's always cool to see them pull out the original cast members. And who knows, maybe we'll get Vince Vaughn. Maybe we'll get William H. Macy and Téa Leoni. There's so much to work with in this franchise, and bringing characters back, it would just be nice to see them all again. Though it's kind of disappointing we'll never be able to see the great Pete Postlethwaite come back as Robert Muldoon, because quite frankly, he's probably my favorite character in the franchise altogether.
I believe I've spent enough time in the company of death.
The Jurassic Park Legacy Reviews will be right back.
This is impossible. Dinosaurs have been extinct for 65 million years. We must get to the bottom of this. They're terrifying and mind-boggling. They're marshmallows.
New Jurassic Park Crunch, a cereal with prehistoric marshmallows, green T-Rexes, swirled raptors, and more. But this monstrous part of a complete breakfast will only roam the Earth for a limited time.
With this evidence, we'll be famous. Evidence?
Jurassic Park Crunch. You can get them before they disappear. Again.
We now return to the Jurassic Park Legacy Reviews on BigJackFilms.
The control room should be out of view down the halls. Set me up in the main drive systems. If there's any problems, head back to the elevator.
Alright, sounds good. I'll report back when I can then. Find no trouble in Jurassic Park. We'll be right behind those doors. Strap yourself in, Roger. You're going in.
USB AI controls activated. Welcome, Roger.
I'll take care of the power. Roger, you seeing this right now?
This is new to me. This is all studies that have Dr. Wiz research, but signs of the Tiptree as well.
Tiptree? The one from Carter? Hang on a sec. incredible. Typical engine list. Hasn't changed since 97. What the hell? My God.
Hi there. Welcome to the hub of Project Duo. In this case file, you have been assigned to witness the successful simulation of using the advancements of dino DNA to generate human DNA. Tested in 2018 by former partner of John Hammond, Dr. Lockwood, the success of human cloning has light-yeared in progress with advanced technology. What most don't know, however, is that the test was so successful that some of its findings were confiscated. We just had to know where to look. With the help of Dr. Gabor of the Department of Meta-Human Control and Dr. Tiptree of Eugene's Corp, we now have the successful tools to create human clones for technology and military application. From matching our most successful dino DNA sequences to artificial brain scans and volunteer samples of a variety of human resources, we can make and manufacture reproducing human genes into the perfect life forms. Take this subject as a prime example.
Done. I gotta shut this down. Try to access these codes. Project T84. That doesn't sound good. Shit!
Uh-oh. Looks like our systems have had quite a glitch in the sequence. We'd recommend shutting down this program and resetting the systems. Thanks for watching this presentation. And remember, keep your jeans in your pants. Bye-bye for now.
You just can't ever keep your nose out of trouble, Patient 92. Come along.
This was too easy of an offer. I figured Gabor was behind all this. So, genetic encoding for human cloning. What, was Von Stone too easy and predictable to bring back?
Also was not an asset. He was a fool. A man obsessed with German heritage.
Of course he was a fucking Nazi. Now I know how Jones feels.
Much like history, it repeats itself. And German's work is handed down to higher authority again for further testing.
Wait.
You see, the new heads of engine and the Department of Meta-Human Control have had a pretty progressive deal now. Not for new species of dinosaurs, but for genetical engineering of human DNA.
You're not.
We have been collecting samples of human genetics for humans and supernaturals for ages, thanks to the department studies to mark the special sequences for the top secret agency paid for by a special secret donor.
You cannot be serious! Motherfucker.
We couldn't have accomplished this without you accepting our invitation, Patient 92. And with your help, we will achieve amazing results.
Are you monologuing?
What?
You're monologuing before you kill me.
I figured I'd give you a sense of failure before.
You know that's the dumbest thing any villain can do in these type of situations, right? First of all, I don't think Gabor wants to be dead, given he's serving a certain someone, though granted it's hard to tell if he's alive or not. Second of all, telling me your evil plan means you're gonna die or get bad karma because it's one of the oldest cliches in the book! And I write the bloody book!
Gabor has no more use for you. He has what he wants. Killing you would just give me a higher promotion.
Declan, Benedict, Hoskins, and Mills.
What?
They all preceded you as these agents that told their evil plan and that they all got eaten by a dinosaur. You don't have them documented! Of all the dumbest shit I have seen at Jurassic fucking Park, this takes the cake! This is the dumbest shit I have seen when it comes to sabotage! I don't know if Dennis was your uncle or your dad or your bro, Dr. Negri, but he was more competent than all y'all!
My dad used $70 million to help like the new man!
What? You're related?
Father and son, I guess. Why was he even here?
Somehow, Henry returned.
Ah! Shut up!
That's the only like the IRS.
Check. I just scanned the lower halls. There are 2 raptors within the center, including the big one.
Roger? You might want to think about rebooting your asset list.
Why?
Because that was not the big one! That was one of Dr. Turbo's assets!
Doctor Who?
I'll explain it to you later. In the meantime, I gotta find a way out of here. And finish this review. Because we got DAXON here. Now, there's a few other characters I want to get to, but let's jump to the villains quickly and what I think about them. And for the most part, Biosyn is a pretty nice way to tie all 6 films together, and it's great to see the writers take a lot more from the books of Michael Crichton when it came to the human antagonists, especially with the return of Lewis Doxon. In the first film, making only a brief appearance in the beginning of the movie, with the most meme-filled line next to the magic world and pile of shit. He was played by Cameron Thor in the first film, and there is justified reasons why he did not come back for the final chapter.
Would you have a seat over in that chair, please?
You shouldn't use my name.
So the decision was made to obviously recast him, which is not too far off for the franchise to do, given at one point during the development hell of Jurassic Park 4, Keira Knightley was rumored to be recast as Lex Murphy from the first film, originally played by Ariana Richards. But the casting went to Campbell Scott for Doxon, and for what he's given, the transition of time is enough to where you don't really see the change. He even has the aged look of Cameron from the first, so I can buy it being the same character. Though I can't agree on the change of his character in the writing, which is one of the film's many problems.
What? No.
I know I saved my negatives for later, but this one I'll make an exception because despite Campbell trying to deliver a good performance, the writers changed this character's mystery to be more cliché and stereotypical. Once again, we have another jab at the Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, evil computer nerd corporate bad guy, which is so 2008, guys. Seriously, this cliché is as dead as the Sky Portal. Though it doesn't help Jurassic Park has a Sky Portal here. Wait, what? This just doesn't feel like the mysterious character we saw in the first movie. What I saw in that film was a laid-back, cool-shaded rich boy villain who was giving me that do-it-yourself narrative with a splice of Ratchet's cocky, aggressive attitude and robots.
The lies I've told, the lives I've ruined. This isn't helping me.
But not only here is it the Steve Jobs stereotype yet again, but it's hinted that he might have some of the spectrum added, with adding a pinch of Elon Musk, especially in this scene. I know know it's been memed to death by the fandom, but this is just establishing what he probably has, ruining the character. Is it supposed to make us feel bad for him with the whole he's evil but human sympathy card? Well, when your main villain is supposed to be the mastermind of all 6 films, causing probably millions of deaths from either dinosaur attacks or the plague, it's kinda hard to feel bad for this guy. Not to mention, his motives are so vague and non-existent, it makes the whole thing kinda dull. I know there is a narrative with the essential world domination.
I mean, it would not shock me that they want to control the world.
Of course!
But it's so lackluster and lame, which I will for sure bring up later. Bottom line is, Cameron tried, but didn't have any intimidation to back him up. In fact, his goons are more interesting villains, with those who captured Maisie and Beta. I don't know about you guys, but these henchmen were giving me serious Mummy Returns vibes, and I was all for it. There's 2 that are the most prominent, with Owen's rival Wrangler, played by Scott Hayes, and the Raptor Woman in White, played by Ditchin Latchman. Scott Hayes is the most engaging, butting heads with Chris Pratt, and his character is sort of the love child of the Winter Soldier of Marvel and Sir Guy of Gisborne from Robin Hood Prince of Thieves, with a little splice of Oak Nar from The Mummy Returns. I swear to God, I was expecting him and Barry to butt heads at one point and have this kind of familiar dialogue. You know what? This entire trilogy is just basically ripping off the Mummy trilogy. Don't believe me? Look at these comparisons. And these go on for a while. Confrontations with Owen are engaging, but unfortunately is short-lived when he's interrogated and killed by a Microceratus and a juvenile Baryonyx. It's a shame the character didn't show up in the 3rd act for the climax, the same with the leader of the Atrociraptors. Now, it's pretty obvious with Chaos Theory that Ditchin Latchman's character wasn't the first to handle these new baddies, which means this creep won't last too long. Potential spoilers. But here, Ditchin did a good job playing this wolf in sheep's clothing to a degree. It's clear Biosyn has more than just dinosaurs to dispatch if needed, but also mercenaries to round them up and let them loose, reminding me a lot of something Cobra would do.
And we still don't even know if it was Cobra. Okay, fine, we do.
I might as well talk about it now, but the movie had that Saturday morning cartoon vibe, much like Fallen Kingdom did. There are times during the film I forgot I'm watching a Jurassic Park movie, but instead, a G.I. Joe movie. To be fair, anything is better than Snake Eyes.
Oh, okay.
What?
And that is mostly seen in one of the big set pieces in the film with the military chase scene in the streets of Malta. From its SEAL Team-esque strategy to its crazy concepts in an underground market which has some amazing production design and practical animatronics, and the chase is full of dinosaurs and destruction, it gives the audience what it wants in one full scene. And it feels like something you'd see in a G.I. Joe, or even more for Universal, a Jason Bourne or Fast and Furious movie. God, I know that crossover was a rumor and a joke, but I don't want that to be serious. But the scene is damn entertaining, and with its colors and location, also reminds me of an Indiana Jones movie, especially with the chase. I keep expecting Owen and friends to bump into Indy and Co. during the chase in Dial of Destiny.
Is there always a fruit stand?
High-speed pursuit in progress, headed south.
You heard him, people. Move it!
And not only are there tons of dinosaur species Easter eggs in this set piece, but also introduces a new character to the franchise with professional Daredevil airshipman pilot Kayla Witz, played by DeWanda Wise. I freaking love this character. At first, most might see her as part of the current strain on poor writing in franchises, but I'm cutting that shit at the root, because this character is actually well written. She's essentially our Han Solo of the movie, a means to travel on a large aerial vehicle for a fair price, traveling around the world, shipping pirated goods, and of course dinosaurs off the black market. When you see her, she starts off with selfish intentions, using everyone as a means to an end to profit for personal gains. But when approached by Claire, actually turns around to help others as a supportive character. While family plays a major part in the series,
there's always room for family.
I told you, Vince, we're not crossing over! This time it's a nice change as she starts off alone and eventually manifests a family, becoming one of the team with the rest of our heroes. I also love the plane she flies and the outfit worn, reminding me of the classic pilot archetype from Pulp Adventures, like Winston in The Mummy or Harry Kane in the LEGO Adventurers line. But with that Saturday morning cartoon tone of the films, as of late, reminds me a lot of Launchpad McQuack from the Disney Afternoon series of DuckTales and Tailspin. You could practically play the theme song over the movie.
The magic word. Now we meet up with your peers, cause we got the ducks in here.
Nobody cares.
But one of the film's highlights is the union of the old and new teams, which, I'm not gonna lie, is pretty damn amazing, and where the film's writing has a lot of positives. I mean, it's a cliche at this point to have moments like this in franchises where two investive teams cross paths, but the moment they meet is intended to be that Marvel-esque moment where you expect the audience to cheer with excitement. Reminded me of when the Avengers met the Guardians of the Galaxy in Infinity War. Ironically, since Chris Pratt is in both encounters, and the chemistry really swings as all 6 characters interact with one another in some pretty funny dialogue.
Don't move.
It's one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. But I should clear some things up for the fans and myself in what happens here. Mostly with the union of Alan Grant and Owen Grady.
I'm Owen Grady. Big fan. I read your book. Well, book on tape.
Is Owen the fat kid from the first movie tying it all together? Well, while this exchange could stretch it, it's kind of a given no on that. And do both Owen and Grant have any debates on raptors being the enemy of man or ally? No! Not a smidge of it! And to be honest, it's the only downside to this whole team-up.
You trained raptors.
Yeah. I tried.
Now, new characters are one thing, but what new dinosaurs can we see in this installment? Well, not only are there new dinosaurs, but fun action scenes as well, with the impressive use of effects this time around. Yeah, I did complain about the overuse of CGI in the last two films, but this time the film returns to the roots of the original and has a perfect balance of computer-generated dinosaurs and finally full-on animatronics without CGI enhancements over it by Stan Winston's evolved Legacy Studios. Now, yes, there's CG enhancements in areas to cover the parts not seen. I mean, hell, have you seen the recently discovered uncropped 35mm print of the original Jurassic Park? It's one of the best versions out there. But now, they don't enhance the animatronic face and eyes and attempt to keep as much in camera as humanly possible. It's impressive to see them finally find an area where the first film worked in its visuals and find the right balance with all the creatures in this film and where it fits perfectly when presenting scenes they're in. For one thing, the prologue is where not only is the CG seamless with the environment, but finally shows us in the Jurassic saga what the dinosaurs truly looked like 65 million years ago in their prime. For a while, this idea was considered for fans to see, but becoming reality paints a perfect picture. The cinematography, the shots, and the lack of music only enhances the mood, reminding me of the Walking with Dinosaurs chapter Day of Destiny. I keep expecting Kenneth Barron to start narrating the scene.
Tyrannosaurus, a 5-ton, 13-meter long carnivore, specifically evolved to kill other giant dinosaurs.
But while most see Walking with Dinosaurs, or Disney's Dinosaur to some degree in terms of influence, hell, no one considers Fantasia. For me, this could almost act as a pitch for Universal in how they could have capitalized in the Disney live-action remakes with a remake of The Land Before Time. Now, I know that kind of saying would get me in the gallows, but just on a side note, this is something that, forgive my sins, I kind of want to see happen. The only thing you keep is the score by James Horner, add zero dialogue, and keep it to a visual experience where you can treat your audience as smart people who can figure out what's going on. Seriously, imagine this scene in the original in live action with zero dialogue. I'm not crying. You're crying. Shut up. ILM did a really good job with this opening scene, and it even finally gave fans what they wanted with more scientifically accurate dinosaurs than what came before. Most of the predatory creatures now featured feathers in their designs, from the Oviraptor, its first appearance, looking great by the way, and even Rexy's own ancestor gets a good balance of the old and new in terms of accuracy. And with that said, when we do come back to the present time, we once again are reunited with our classic dino pals from the T-Rex, reintroduction in the drive-in, cameos from Stegosaurus, Gallimimus, Apatosaurus, Allosaurus with a clip from Big Rock, Carnotaurus, the Mosasaurus, among many others, and all welcomed in returning to the franchise. There's so many dinosaurs old and new in this movie, it's hard to describe each species. But needless to say, as we stick to the new ones, are all fun to see for the fans. But one dinosaur I was really excited to see return was, of course, the iconic Dilophosaurus. And it hasn't been since the first movie. Sure, it appeared in the video games and toys throughout the franchise, but anytime there was hope of its glorious return to the sequels in full, I was always left disappointed. The closest we got prior was a hologram of the creature in Jurassic World, but to me it didn't really cut it. Maybe it was a technical reason, or a practical reason, or a pacing reason, or just not wanting to present a scientifically inaccurate dinosaur, but regardless, we finally got a flock of them back in action and with the same visual techniques advanced from the first movie, with full-on use of animatronics and puppets. Not to mention less wirework. Not one shot of these things from what I could see was CGI, and that made it all worthwhile, making the scene much more terrifying as it was in '93. Too bad the outcome was a fake out. Seriously, Owen, that is way too OP for this movie. How the hell do you catch this thing without injury? These things were some of the most lethal creatures in the first film, and not to mention in the book, absolutely shit-pants terrifying. I'll stick with the Velociraptors, thank you very much. But seriously, what the actual hell? Damn it, Dachshund, you made yours less lethal. But while its reintroduction is lacking, it makes up for it in the end in being the demise of Louis Dachshund, much like Nedry all those years ago.
What's your story?
Tragic irony or poetic justice? You tell me.
Though, to be fair, the Dilophosauruses have more impact than Blue in this movie, who I honestly keep forgetting is in here because she's barely in it! She not only has nothing to do other than take care of Beta and see Owen at the beginning and the end of the film, but doesn't even come with the two on the adventure! Seriously, what the hell? How cool would it have been to see her help in the Malta fighting the Atrociraptors, or meeting Grant and regressing his fear of raptors? I had honest-to-God high hopes that one of the most interesting parts of the film would have been Grant and Owen's conflicting debate on raptors to humans. Hell, have Owen spout some trailer lines like, "Blue is not the enemy." It would have been really cool. Granted, we see, well, Grant finally conquer his fears of raptors, but it's so goddamn quick you'd probably miss it. This is the guy who saw these things in their prime before training as the most lethal predators on the planet. Twice, mind you! And to succumb to letting go of his fear that fast is kinda horseshit. That's like if they actually got Roy Scheider to come back in Jaws the Revenge after dealing with the first two sharks, turning to his wife and saying,
Sharks are animals, hun. Let's leave them alone.
But they killed our son.
Cooper's bastard.
That was only in the book and you know it.
Fuck it. Say hi to Scheidberg for me.
Like they say on Saturday Night Live, I hate when that happens. A dream sequence. People were groaning in the theater when that happened. I mean, I want to go up and punch a hole in the screen.
Instead, we only really follow her offspring with Beta, and to be fair, she is very cute, despite being part of the Baby Yoda syndrome as I brought up before.
Baby Yoda. No.
Know who that is, Weepy?
No, because no.
But it's actually impressive to know that most of Beta was brought to life using a rod puppet. The rods were later removed in post-production by ILM. Good stuff. It's a technique that Stan Winston Studio almost did to create full-size dinosaurs walking around in Jurassic Park 3. If you go to their official YouTube channel, you can find the test footage, and it makes me think, why didn't they use this technique? It still looks pretty damn good. Now, going back to the scene in Malta, while seeing old and new dinosaurs from the Compies, Dimorphodons, among others are great as always, one of the newer creatures in the series is the more defined Atrociraptors, which at first I actually thought were made from the movie, but it turns out were real species. Goes to show where I'm at in my paleontology, being introduced in this film as a way to replace the outdated velociraptors of the past. These creatures are not only more obedient, but faster and more vicious to a degree, with more dog-like behavior, reminding me of the Venatosauruses from Skull Island. The chase scene with them is not just a fast and energetic, but mean and ruthless in their speed, where they are quite the threat chasing our heroes. They have the look of the Site B raptors from the Lost World, so it makes me think Biosyn used some of those raptor genetics to create these ones, because in the movie they are rather thrown in out of nowhere and never used again. But flying from Malta, we also have some new airborne pterosaurs to introduce with one of the most favorite and requested, the Quetzalcoatlus, in a pretty cool dogfight-esque chase with Kayla's plane, showcasing not only its predatorial terrors, but its massive size. The Quetzalcoatlus was always one I read up on in books and PC games that stated to be the largest pterosaur on record, putting the Pteranodon to shame and even upscaling the Ornithocheirus. So it's cool to see it in action in a Jurassic Park movie, not just here, but throughout the film, especially in the news reports with them nesting on the Freedom Tower. Something about that is really damn funny to me.
Oh God!
Oh my God!
Holy shit!
And as we get to Biosyn, we see more dinosaurs in the fray, with another raptor introduced with the Pyroraptor, which has more feathers to feature, and the introduction of one of the freakiest dinosaurs in paleontology with the Thezerosaurus. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I've always kind of heard about this creature in books and the likes, and as a kid I thought it looked pretty cool. I even own the action figure of this thing. In fact, by the way folks, my action figure collection has gotten bigger in recent years, so maybe someday way down the line, I'll do an update video about that. And to see it in this franchise is a nice little inclusion. Again, so many dinosaurs are put into this movie, some are just shoehorned in to get as many as possible, and with this being the possible final film to a degree, it can be a little too much. Or none at all, which I'll talk about later. Also, the Therizinosaurus I've always considered the big bird of dinosaurs. You can make it all scary and freaky as much as you want, but this thing ain't it. It's too cute for it.
I'm on my way to New York City to try to break into public television.
Though one last creature that was new and nice to see was the amazingly lit Dimetrodon, which, while dinosaur-like, are not at all, but actually reptiles predating even the Triassic period. And the scene in the caves is another highlight of the film just for the sheer use of the full-on animatronics alone. And the creepy caved atmosphere reminded me a lot of the Lost Spider Pit scene in the original King Kong, and it's cool to see these things in a Jurassic Park movie, given the toy for it by Kenner is still an awesome piece. I know I'm rushing through a lot of these animals, but it's because I got a lot to say later in my negatives, and the movie also does the same. But let's talk about one last dinosaur added to the list with the new giant predator in the Giganotosaurus, the biggest of all the predators combined on the fossil record. For me, this is the first time I'm really getting a grasp on this creature, and to be honest, can appreciate him more given I've always ignored him as one of many theropods that ain't the T-Rex. But from the prologue itself, setting up its threatening demeanor, it really does leave an impression for the franchise. And I'll give them credit that the Giganotosaurus is not just terrifying, but also visually impressive using a lot of full-scale animatronics on set for the actors to work with. Some shots add CG, but the majority of it is all in camera with the detailed head and puppeteers to operate it. To me, this is the Indominus Rex perfected, and I can agree be the final boss of the series for all good reasons. It's an impressive creature, and one I wouldn't mind seeing again in the future. Shit, dead end. Signal's down. Roger, I'm too far below for reception. Do you copy? Is that an Indominus Rex? I thought these things died on nuclear. Looks like they're still baking these damn things without anyone knowing. Go figure given their other experiments. Roger, stop!
I'll try and reset your coordinates to get you out of there.
Well, whatever ate Lau is gonna smell me out too. I gotta regroup with the others.